What is your darkest secret? You/no-names left responded. About 16 years ago, my parents, 51M and 49F at the time, got a divorce because my mother turned out to be cheating on my father with a 15-year-old she had met in church. Once the divorce was finalized, my father began to date his biological cousin and almost married her. This is the TLDR version of what happened, but it was a whirlwind of WTF moments for about 3 years as everything came out. To this day, they act like nothing either of them did was wrong. You/Real Strawberries responded. My dad was an awful dickhead, so when I was 16 I reported his endless list of shit to the police. To this day he thinks his ex-wife snitched on him. He still doesn't know that his daughter reported him. Edit, so many were asking what he did, and if he was sentenced. I won't list everything, some are scattered in the comments, but here are a few, a lot of them I will keyword because I can't bring myself to actually go into detail, I hope you understand. Accidental, vehicular homicide, child kidnapping, he forced me and my sister to move to a different country away from our family, forcing me and my sister to work on our family restaurant for no money, 10 hours a day, tax evasion, scamming over $250K, grooming, overstepping child of father boundaries. I won't go into detail. I'm sorry. For this he got 23 years without parole. Edit 2, if you are struggling with an abusive parent, partner etc. Please let someone know, you have my full love and support. You/important, Tomato 2306 responded. I got my first BF when I was 19. He was also 19. The relationship was incredibly toxic and abusive, the level of, I'm not allowed to pick my clothes or friends or classes without his consent kind of abusive. Later on, he would throw furniture at me, try to break my arm with his bare hands, threaten to kill himself if I left, kidnap my dog, and stand in front of my car so I couldn't leave. I was trapped for 2.5 years. During that time, I was falsely accused of having a sexual relationship with my co-coach, who was 45 at the time, when in reality, my BF was cheating on me. So when he wanted to lose weight, I told him I would cook for him. What he thought were healthy, chocolate protein shakes were actually full fat, chocolate shakes with about a cup of added sugar per serving plus protein powder. He gained 40 plus IBS over a year. I want to feel bad about it, but I had to call the cops on him for domestic abuse. So I don't. You/Sammy Wild Memes responded. I'm a victim of human trafficking. Between the ages of about 3 to 7 my mother would take me to the next town over, and hand me over to a pedophile. I would be there a couple of days at a time, and when she would come and get me, he would hand her a bunch of money. These were my earliest memories. Barely anyone knows. I feel like if people knew they would see me differently. You/deleted responded. My mum is an alcoholic with schizophrenia. She was pretty abusive to my dad and me. My dad died from terminal cancer, but once when he was ill when I was 18 I came downstairs, after hearing shouting to see him sobbing on the floor begging her to stop screaming at him. It was only the second time I'd ever seen my dad cry, all the abuse and I'd never seen him break down. Something snapped and let's just say I got physical with her, which culminated in me whispering in her ear that if she so much as raised her voice at him again, she'd leave in a body bag. I think she knew I was serious, as she cut most of her shit out. You/suspicious_feeling 27 responded. Not me but a family member. She denies it still, but I know the truth. I watched it happen. She was maybe 10 at the time. She set a park amphitheater on fire. Decided she didn't want to go to jail, so she found a cup in the trash, and ran back and forth from the pond trying to put this massive fire out. Fire department showed up and saw her doing that. She got to ride home in the fire truck and they gave her an award for community action, or something along those lines. You/difficult Roval 5343 responded. TLDR. I have had an imaginary girlfriend, who I created at age 14, as a result of a series of trauma-induced psychotic breaks, who I still see when I get stressed or sad or lonely. At the age of 14, during what I would later come to find was a series of psychotic breaks, I hallucinated having a best friend named Morgan Gamble, who I met whilst reading alone at my neighborhood library. Over the course of 2 years, I would create an alternative narrative to reality, in which she and I hung out and generally did stupid 14-year-old stuff together. When we moved to my parents' next posting, we said we would write to each other. I sent letters every week for half a year, got nothing in response, because of course I didn't, and stopped writing. About 5 to 6 years later, I'm in college and at the recommendation of a friend, I start seeing a therapist, and we start dredging up past traumas and scrubbing away at the scabs in the hope of getting me to stop having a panic attack every time I smell bacon, burning hair, or hear a loud sudden noise. We dig deep, I cry a lot, develop a brief alcohol addiction, the usual. We come to happy moments, and I mention Morgan, and how knowing her and having her friendship helped keep me from going off the rails. One try to reconnect with her, and eventually, through a few months of picking and prodding, reality seeps in and I realize that I was a fucking wreck. Which? Therapy helped, thankfully. I've never told anyone, other than my therapist, this. When I get stressed or I'm having a very bad time, Morgan shows up, looking the same as she did over 2 decades ago. I'm kind of hoping I'll always have her to talk to. You/eponymous titular responded. One summer, I fell in love with my cousin when I was 13 and she was 14. During her visit, she kissed me. I said we couldn't do that again and she agreed. But she added that she was glad that we kissed at least once. Nothing else physical ever happened between us. We still see each other sometimes now. And every time we are together, I wish she could have been anybody else's cousin. Just not my cousin. She once told me outright that she wishes the same thing. She brings her husband to family reunions, of course. He and I look alike, have the same hobbies, share the same sense of humor, etc. But so far, nobody seems to have noticed that she married my clone. I asked her about that once. She said she really does love him, and she loves her marriage. But she added, he was the next best thing. You/no_strain_703 responded. I was pregnant at 18 by my father. No one in my life knows. I moved away. I went into labor at 37 weeks. She was perfect. She just didn't breathe. They tried for ages. In the end, they put her in my arms and said there was nothing they could do. Throughout my whole pregnancy, I wondered how I could possibly love her given how she came to be. I was so alone and confused. I wished her away on more than one occasion, and then it happened. It hurts so very much every day. It's been 29 years, and it still hurts every day. I've never had another child. It's the price I pay for wishing her away. You/keeper of the Ben responded. My mother is a very prominent child psychologist. She has written books, made DVDs and trains other psychologists. She has a very recognizable name in the field. She also likes to have sex with her brother on the side. I am the product of her extracurricular activities. She neglected and abused me throughout my childhood. She hated me. I ran away from her home at 14 years old to live on the streets. One have been completely no contact with my birth giver since I left her house, and my life has been so much better without her in it. Unfortunately for me, being inbred has led to a whole host of physical disabilities that each come with their own comorbidities, which will degenerate as I age, and I will end up wheelchair-bound. I have had many corrective surgeries and have woken up alone with no family each time. I have been diagnosed with personality disorders, major depression, anxiety, obsessive-compulsive disorder, and complex post-traumatic stress disorder. These all being a direct result of how my birth giver raised me. I have tried to end myself previously, which lands me in the psych ward, where they know me by name. This is what only the closest to me know, including my fiancé, mental health case managers, and my doctors. I desperately wish this wasn't the hand I was dealt. I am more than my mother's very poor decision-making and malicious actions. I wish I could have a normal life with a normal working body. I wish was fit enough to work a job, and I wish that I don't cry every day. You/Dibeka responded. The darkest I'm willing to tell, I was delivering a box of stuff from a big box store to a house. A sign on the door said come in, drop-off box inside the living room to the right, have a bag of chips or cold drink. Thai. When I walked in, I saw a young girl, 15 to 17, in the room to the left, putting a noose around her neck. I talked to her about it, and asked her to reconsider. She cried. I cried. I told her my ex killed herself. And it's fucking hard for family and friends to move on. She told me to say nothing, and she'd ask her parents for help that day. One can't just not tell anyone. I told my boss. I was written up for going inside someone's house. There's exceptions for disabled or elderly. That's it, and I am not supposed to tell anyone else. 'Cause it could make the company look bad. The next day, I had a delivery to the same street. The girl killed herself after all. I feel like my story about my ex and my not telling her parents allowed this to happen. I've never told anyone. I hate myself most days. Maybe karma got me back though. I broke my knee and wrists at work. And was laid off. Sorry for the long comment. You/rampaging monkeys responded. I have a foot fetish. I really wanna explain what it's like because to me it's not fucking fun at all. Think of a foot with a sock on like seeing a girl with a bikini on. It's nice, but you don't get to see everything. With shoes on they are basically fully clothed. Now when the sock's off it's comparable to see a girl naked. That's how arousing it is. Beaches and pools are miserable to be at because one have to hide my, and people who wear open-toed sandals, or have their docks out are my weakness. And I get uncomfortable around them, because they don't know what they are doing. It's also really made fun of because it's seen as weird, but I was born with it. It's a gift and a curse. That being said, when I'm in a relationship, if they are in the mood they can just take their socks off, so it doesn't take much. Also people joke about foot fetishes in front of me without knowing I actually have one, and it makes me super uncomfortable to the point where I have to leave the conversation, because I feel super judged. Edit. Also not every foot is attractive. People who have foot fetishes have their type of foot they like. So just because you have feet doesn't mean someone with a foot fetish will be attracted to you. Also no, I'm not disgusting about it or weird and shit like every depicts. I'm a normal fucking human being just like you. You/Ubelux responded. My parents don't know their tough love of throwing me out of home at age 18 resulted in me joining a gang for bed and food. They think a friend helped me into construction work. Truth is I was a slave collecting money in a showbox, bought a SIM card, applied for work and used my job in construction to get out. The gang wanted my labor, but I offered to pay rent instead, as I squeezed my way out a couple months later. My parents have no idea, I almost went to IAL, and had to leverage criminals for help to start off in life. I served a good behavior bond after a drug deal gone wrong situation, and I was young cannon fodder. I didn't get a criminal record, and got a bit of cash for no commenting. Please think about this before treating your child to a homelessness life lesson. I love my parents, but the resentment is. Even when I say I forgive them, I don't really. Edit. Thanks all for the support. I don't seek to bring it up to them unless absolutely necessary. I focus on improving myself. As Frank Sinatra once said, the best revenge is massive success. You/Mort Lightstone responded. In high school, one of my classmates thought he was a cyberpunk hacker. He dressed like he was in an old school punk band and everything. Our school used a network with virtual desktops, so you could log into your account from any computer in the building. One day we were doing research on the library, and I dared him to prove he was as good of a hacker as he claimed. I dared him to find a way to log into our teacher's account. It took him a while, but he managed it and we saw a bunch of assignments to be marked and stuff, as well as some pictures downloaded from a digital camera, so we decided to take a look. They were pictures of a female teacher at our school in a suggestive pose. We immediately noped the fuck out of there before we saw any nudity, and just pretended like it never happened. You/Wollong Acquirer responded. I started hooking up with one of my closest friends' ex not even a month after they broke up. It turned into semi-dating and I even attended her mom and stepdad's small wedding. He would always complain that she wouldn't do things in bed, but she was an absolute freak with me, and while that made me feel even more guilty, it was also hot as fuck. She had him blocked on everything related to the breakup. He was no saint, and even after she moved back to South Korea, and we ended things amicably, I got a hold of his phone when he was drunk one night, and blocked her from his social media just in case she ever decides to reach back out. It's been 8 years and nobody knows. You/primary_brief 1898 responded. About 3 years ago, me and my boyfriend pick up our girlfriend to hang out. We are driving around and she proceeds to tell us that this guy was just dropped off at her house because he was on the run. I've been around plenty of people on the run, and in fact I've been on the run from probation, parole, you know, all that stuff, so I couldn't care less if I tried. However, what she says next really catches not only mine, but my boyfriend's as well. He shot a cop in the neck and got free, she said. So something clicks in my head, and I look over, and can tell my boyfriend has realized something too. Fast forward 2 hours and we drop her off. As soon as she gets away from the car, and into her apartment building, we both turn to each other, and at the exact moment say, "Reward money." I really had to be talked into actually making the call, because I was so against snitching. However, I justified it with the fact he was actually going to kill his baby mother, and shot a cop while his back was turned, so I finally got the nerve to do it. 2 months and $15,000 later. It was well worth being the anonymous tip that led to his arrest. You/strangely clairvoyant responded. Throwaway. I constantly fear I too be raped. Like all of the time. It's been a fear of mine since I was 14, I am 24 now. But the fear has gotten worse and worse over the years, to the point where I can't sleep some nights. It's always rape, and it's always excessively violent in my imagination. I've never been a victim of any kind of sexual assault or abuse, so I don't know why it's this particular thing that occupies my mind. I always imagine how my life would be destroyed afterwards too. I feel like I can't tell anyone because it's so taboo, and I feel like I'm taking away from people who are real victims of this sort of thing. You/4i60 responded. I have paid off all the debts of my parents, but I still make them pay the debts. I talked with the bank manager to use my bank account for their monthly payments. They didn't send out a letter that their loans or debts were paid off. They can't handle money. Seriously. If they were better with finances, we wouldn't need to flirt with being poor all my childhood. They even have good paying jobs, but they are so irresponsible with their paychecks. I plan to keep this going until they both retire so I can surprise them with money I saved for them. It's going to be mid-6-digit figure. Almost $500,000. You/Omega Primus responded. I don't trust anyone in my dad's side of the family. His oldest brother seems to be somewhat trustworthy, but the rest I don't trust any of them. Right now going through probate on my dad's properties. His younger brother has asked me to straight up give him a small chunk of land. I plan to offer that to him at market price, as I don't want his sister or kids upset that, well, Joe got this. Why don't I get anything? If they want anything, pay for it, and don't ask for favors. I might offer it to them first, but not free, nor less than the value. One of the reasons I don't trust them is they have tried to loot the man's house. I had a cousin wearing my dad's shirt to the goddamned funeral. You/deleted responded. Nobody I know will ever find this. I've been hooked on porn masturbation for the past 4-ish years. It sucks up time I could spend on being productive. It's affected my self-worth, the way I think, my emotions, etc. I've made tiny steps to quit, but LVE never been able to because I fall back into it. Most I've gone without busting one looking at porn was a single day. I'm in high school. I really want to quit, but at this point it's just a habit that I can do without even realizing I'm doing it, and I recognize that's really bad. On lazy days without anything to do, I've jacked off upwards of 5 times. I just want to get out of it, to think and feel normal again. You/much yesterday 5871 responded. My second darkest secret. I was given the responsibility to bring my grandfather's dead body from hospital to home. He died due to pneumonia. Rest of my family members were busy with the paperwork, and others were on the way to home. I was with my cousin and wanted to save money, so called an Uber instead of a hearse car. I made my grandfather's body sit on the wheelchair and brought it to the Uber car. The driver got a bit suspicious, but I told him he's sleeping. I made his dead body sit in the car and brought it home, put his body on the mat respectfully with all rituals, and then everyone arrived. You/Pink Cotton 666 responded. I don't want to be on this planet anymore. I just simply don't wish to exist. and I believe that given the state of the world, the economy, overpopulation etc., people should have a right to choose to just stop existing in a way that isn't messy or traumatic. It would solve so many problems if the people like me could just choose to stop. I wish other people could just accept that some people aren't meant for this world and that making them stay is an act of cruelty. I've been through 2 lifetimes worth of trauma and had horrible unspeakable things happen to me, but I don't feel like that's why I don't want to be here anymore. I just simply don't want to be. And as a human being, I really truly believe it should be my right to make that decision. I don't think I'm going to see the end of the year. I really think I too overdose before then. U/Nessenabilita responded. I got my college roommate kicked out of college. We were good friends, went to a program together and became roommates, gave him a computer to use when he's broke. He stole a bunch of money off my dad's sissy buying takeout for a bunch of people in the dorm, and another person told me it was happening. I went to him and said it's something I noticed, and that it's over the amount that would be considered a felony, and I would go to the police in a few days if I didn't get it back. The cash arrived the following day. He happened to be on academic probation at the time. He was a real slacker in general. So I went and saw in his email on my computer I lent him 2 different excuses to 2 different professors why he was absent on a specific day of class, one a dead grandmother, the other the flu. I forwarded both emails to both teachers and the dean from his email address. He moved out the next week. U/Pilo_Ensordajado responded. Maybe not such a dark secret, but when my SO got pregnant with our first, I became slightly obsessed with her getting larger. It was so magical and beautiful. Since then I have had a thing for fat girls. SO always lost her baby weight all 3 times, and I love her body no matter how she looks. No one can turn me on like her. But lately she has gotten a new job, started driving to work, and can afford to treat herself a bit. And she has become a little chubby. I can't stop thinking about her, and I can't stop being horny. Been going on for a few months now. She is just the woman of my very wet dreams since 12 years back when we got our first. I have hinted to her that I like it, but she doesn't know. If she wants to lose the weight, I will of course support her, but for right now I'm just enjoying her wonderful round belly and chubby thighs and secretly hoping she will gain a few more pounds. Thank you so much for watching all the way to the end. Please like and subscribe for more videos like this one.